This meeting is now called to order, and I'll ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Thank you. Mayor Wells and Councilmember Kendrick are absent. All other council members are present.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The city clerk posted orders of adjournment of the June 28, 2022 meeting and the agenda of the July 12, 2022 meeting in accordance with the state law, council, and housing authority policy. We have one presentation on today's agenda, and I would like to invite Parks and Recreation Director Frank Carson to share with us about this. Sir?
I'm going to ask, I have our team here today of our full-time staff of Parks and Recreation professionals to come up and stand around me up here. We don't usually all show up in force, but I asked them maybe just this one time we show up just to show council your diversity of staff that you have out in the field representing you all your Parks and Recreation centers. July is National Parks and Recreation Month. Parks and Recreation make lives and communities better not only in July, but all year long. Parks and Recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in prevention of chronic disease, provide inclusion and recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all residents. Each month, over 100,000 patrons visit our local parks and recreation facilities in El Cajon. Our parks team ensures a clean, beautiful, and safe setting for you and your family to enjoy. The recreation staff is committed to deliver on their promise to develop youth, support families, and provide safe places. Parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime retention. We celebrate Parks and Recreation Month, and we invite you to join the City of El Cajon in observance of July being Parks and Recreation Month by visiting a local park or participating in any one of our outstanding programs. This year, the National Recreation Park Association theme is Rise Up through summer camp, youth sports, exploring a trail, pickleball, meeting friends on the playground, picnicking in the park, or discovering nature. Parks and play go hand in hand. And with that, I want to celebrate Parks and Recreation Month with all of our staff here. Give them a big round of applause. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, sir. Council, do you have any comments?
Yeah, as you're taking your seats, I just want to thank all of you for all your hard work. I told Frank, I think a month ago, it seems like every other week we're getting an award for our Parks and Recs department. And I know that has a lot to do with leadership, all the way down to our part-time staff members. So thank you very much for all your hard work. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you very much. All right. Do we have any agenda changes? Staff, do we have any agenda changes?
Madam Deputy Mayor, staff would recommend that item number 19 be removed from the council. I think there's some value in having the entire council here for that item. In order to remove the agenda item, it would require a vote of the majority of council members here today to pull that item. So if someone would like to make a motion to change the agenda, I would recommend that.
I'll make that motion.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Thank you. Are there any agenda changes from council members?
Madam Deputy Mayor?
Yes?
There is one more agenda item change. There is a resolution on item number 7 on the consent calendar that was referred to in the agenda report but was inadvertently not attached. It is a standard plans and specifications resolution, and it does not change any of the substance of what you're going to decide on today. You should find a copy of it on your desks. For the public, there are copies of it.
Is that Resolution 22?
Well, they're all 22 right now, but
Okay.
it's for item number 7 on the consent calendar, the ADA improvements.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion on that and vote?
On that note, that's just a note that additional information is provided to the council.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and then may we have a motion to approve the changes to the, oh, we did that. Okay, sorry. Check that off. All right, we are now down at consent items. Consent items are routine matters enacted by one motion according to the recommendation listed below. With the concurrence of the City Council, a council member or person in attendance may request discussion of a consent item at this time. Council members, do you wish to pull any consent items? Okay, and staff, we already pulled our consent item, correct?
No other items, ma'am.
Okay, Angela, do we have any speaker cards for consent items?
We do not, thank you.
Thank you. After the motion and after the motion and second, Angela will call on the council for a verbal vote. May I have a motion to approve consent items?
So moved.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Thank you. All right. And let's see. I think we're all the way down to... Public, oh. I didn't see it here. All right. We're at public comment now. Do we have any speaker cards, Angela?
No cards.
Okay. Okay, we are now at public comment. At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council, Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments relating to items on today's agenda are to be taken at the time the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on items not on the agenda. However, City Council and Housing Authority members may briefly respond to statements or questions, and an item may be placed on a future agenda. And again, I will ask, do we have any speaker cards?
There are no speaker cards.
Thank you very much. The newbie. All right. There are no written communications on today's agenda. We're now at public hearings. We have one item to consider, which is item 11, is for the sewer tax roll fees report. I'll ask staff to introduce the item.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Blake Berenger. I'm with the Public Works Department, Engineering and Wastewater. Today we are bringing before you the annual sewer billing to be put on tax roll for our third year now. The difference this year is we have two options available for you. In 2019, we had our 5-year rate increases approved, and our first option is all of the parcels at that approved rate for this year. And option B is a rate suspension of basically 1%, taking the increase of rates down from 11% to 10%. So that is the Appendix B with all the parcels listed. That's up for your choice of approval. This year also there was a major change in sewer billing, not in the way that it's actually conducted, but how we actually calculated the charges. We implemented a new billing system as part of our financial system implementation for Tyler Munis. There's a utility billing module that we created and implemented, and we're able to do all the billing this year in-house instead of going out with our consultant as we did the last 2 years. We used the previous consultant files as a check against the system to make sure that all charges were calculated as expected, and everything went very well. And notices were sent out. 16,444 notices went to property owners, and 46 notices went out to HOAs, where the actual sewer bills are divided equally among all the properties on that HOA. So if you have any questions, again, this is the 3rd year that we've been doing this way.
Okay. Does council have any questions? Steve?
I do. Hi, Blake. The public often doesn't quite know the calculation. So can you explain the base charge and the volumetric charge and why it's done during the winter months?
Yes, so for the vast majority of single-family residences, we look at the 4 months during the winter period where they have the lowest amount of usage, and it most closely resembles the amount of water that's returned to the sewer. Not exactly, but we have it built into our rates to assume that that is the closest that we can measure to what actually returns to sewer. So we take those 4 months and then we multiply it across the whole year. So essentially, we have a fixed winter average, which is a 2-month set value, which we've done for decades now. We've just changed the annual charge amount to be 6 times that, and then 12 monthly base charges. So this is a calculation that we've done for a long time. It matches many done across the county. The only other method is generally a flat charge, which we do not have in the city of El Cajon.
So the reason why it's done in winter is because that's when people least use irrigation outside the home.
Much
So
cooler.
any water that's used during these winter periods are most likely used inside the home. That's what you mean by sent
Correct.
back to the sewer through
Yeah.
down the sink or whatever. And if the November-December time period and the January-February time period, let's say it was $60 for those 2 months and $80 for these 2 months, you're going to make it an average of 70,
Correct.
and then that 70 becomes the average for each of the next 6 2-month periods. So it's the lowest bill it can be,
Right.
can't it? Because we assume that is all human use rather than irrigation.
Not all, but as close as
we
possible.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the public doesn't always know, how do you calculate this thing? So
Exactly.
that helps.
And for commercial and a lot of multifamily and industrial charges, those are actually just based on the total consumption throughout the entire year. So all of these charges are based on specific uses per parcel, not an average of what the average is for the same type across the city.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. So it's based on your water usage, okay? And for example, my sewer bill or my property taxes went up $1,000 this past year. Nothing has changed. We actually save a lot of water, so the bucket in the shower, that water gets used on our plants. How does that, if it's based on water usage, a lot of that water is not going down the drain.
Yeah, so it is definitely an average practice. It doesn't work perfectly for everyone across the city, but it works for the majority of properties. We do get inquiries about a specific account, and we've reviewed those accounts. We had a few inquiries today. And we can see sometimes people have leaks, and they can provide leak documentation if that leak affected their usage, where sometimes the winter months aren't representative of their entire annual usage because they had a leak or some other problem. So we definitely can take a look at an account if specifically requested.
Thank you. All right. The public hearing is now open. Angela, do we have any speaker cards on this issue?
Yes, we do, ma'am. And we have 5 speakers.
Thank
the
you.
first one is Roy Feathers.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, Roy Feathers, 166 North First Street, the Tudor Villa condos. The young man that I saw come in, I asked him some questions, so actually I'm done.
You're done.
But anyway, just to let you know, I'm a native. I was born in San Diego County in 1949, and a part out. So I was here when this was all, it almost all looked like that. And one case in point, a lot of people don't know it, and I told them, out here, the old Chase Ranch was a gold mine. And today's
Wow.
market is $500,000.
Wow.
And I'm part of the guys that do the gold panning at the Del Mar Fair and Southwestern Prospectors Miners. And 3 guys could make $40,000 a year, use gravity separation, no chemicals, send their concentrates out for the chemical separation, probably walk away with $40,000. But it's all built over, so it's too bad.
Wow.
But I've been around mining in San Diego County, so. But anyway, so you take it easy. And I got 2 letters, by the way, that were identical somehow. So I gave one to my supervisor, so I took off over here. So, but my questions were answered. But there's
Great.
a few of us natives still around.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to thank you for
Hard time hearing what?
just wanted to thank you for volunteering at the Del Mar Fair. My son and our friends, we stopped by your booth. Is yours the one with the model with all the different? They stood there for about 10 minutes looking at it.
I do fireworks displays beside my regular job, and I got my casino show in Golden Acorn was shut down. But I'm going to do their anniversary show on the 13th of August.
Awesome.
And they're going to have all kinds of stuff.
Awesome.
But what I'm saying is that people got to realize there's stuff in front of you right now this only exists because of rare earths. Yeah. And you need to look that up.
Thank you.
Anyway, so they've been around since 1936, and I'm there last Saturday before July 4th, okay? And I have my hat on, light on and stuff, and I explain, you seen our display, the cutaway of the earth? I explain all that to them.
Yeah, they loved it. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
But and I've been around the gemstone mining in San Diego. They had a quartz crystal that big around up at the White Queen mine.
Wow.
We wanted to cut it out of there and Dawson, but it could still be there. But anyway, so my great-grandfather, Gustav Reinebeck, we owned about 80 acres, went down Main Street, down Johnson, Chamber Street, about an 80-acre section. We used to own that and lost it in the Depression.
Amazing.
He
Well,
came
thank
over
you so
from,
much.
Germany, Ellis Island. So, but anyway, but he thought they were going to round up all the Germans when you-know-who went crazy in Germany. And he befriended the Japanese-American farmers. He got shot at once and chased one time.
Wow.
So that's why I'm
You have a
political.
lot of stories.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for the time. I think I went over my 3 minutes, but there's not many of us left. But anyway, you take it easy.
Thank you.
Linda Baker.
Hello, it's nice to meet you all.
Hello.
I'm here representing myself as a resident and also my church, the Christ Church of El Cajon. And I just want to take just a moment of your time just to say that with regards to Appendix A or Appendix B, that both the residents and the commercial, we hope that you support Appendix B. Thank you very much for your time
Thank you.
and consideration.
Rebecca Marley.
I'm here to speak about the sewer bill, and I don't want to criticize the city, but I'm profoundly deaf. And this meeting, I can't hear a word what anybody's saying. There is no closed captioning. and I need closed captioning in order to hear. So maybe in the future, for somebody like me, I'm only able to speak. I'm not able to hear what you're going to say. So when the city first started this, putting it on the property tax in 2020, I saved my last bill in July, and my fixed water average was 4.5. But when I got this notice that they were going to put it, the fixed water average went up to 6. So I would like to know where they pulled that number out, because it increased my bill by like 100. And on this thing, it says that it will decrease by 2%. City Council approved the property tax, which will allow them to reduce the approved rate by 2%. But since then, it's only gone up. And this year, it's gone up a total of $95. So it's not going down, it's going up. So I would like somebody, maybe at the end of this meeting, to explain to me, where did they get that number?
No,
okay. Yeah. And the other thing is, where can I talk to somebody, because I'm a caregiver. I was a caregiver for both my elderly parents, and now my dad passed, and I only have my mother. But she's incontinent, so there's a lot more laundry, washing her clothes, washing sheets, and washing herself. Who can I talk to about getting a reduced rate because of that?
Well, ma'am, I think what you can do is talk to Mr. Mitchell, Graham Mitchell, who's our city manager, and talk to his office.
Who's that, the city manager? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If you
Okay,
talk
thank
to the
you very
city
much.
manager's office, they'll be able to explain that in much better detail.
All right. Thank you, guys.
You're most welcome.
Because it seems like it's only going up and up.
Yes, ma'am.
Frank, sure.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good.
I never approved of the payment method. This guy said that they started in 2019. That's when the pandemic started. We couldn't even visit with anybody. My concern is, what happens if you can't make the water bill? Can they put a lien on your house? It's real difficult to adjust. Like gas and electric, if all of a sudden you're using too much gas or too much electric, you just stop using it. With this, you can't, because it's 12 months. But the main issue I have is that I never approved of this type of method. Who did?
Sir?
So in 2018, as the council recalls, a little bit before the pandemic, the city council actually analyzed for over about a year period the different options it had. One of the options was we had been using a billing company that no longer could provide the service to us, and so we went out to bid to look for an alternative or a billing company, and we were shocked at how much those costs were. And so the cost would have been far more than our residents were used to paying. So that's when we started exploring, well, what if we went to what everyone else in the county does, which is putting the property or the bill along with the property tax, and that would actually reduce the savings. So the council actually voted on this in 2018. It went into effect in 2019, and as our engineering staff said, it's been in place for the last 3 years.
And was that a decision made by the city and was not necessary for citizens to vote on?
Correct. It's not it's made by the city council. That decision is made by the city council.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Partly. But how can you determine what I want to do? I thought you represent me. You're making a decision on tying a water bill to a tax bill. If I don't make the payment on my water bill, God forbid, can you put a lien on my house?
If the council wants to answer that, we could have actually put a lien on someone's home in the old system too. So if someone didn't pay their bill, we in fact have put many liens on people's homes over the years. So yeah, there's an ability to put a lien on a house with the billing, this current billing method, but also the old billing method as well.
Mr. Goble, did you have a comment?
Yeah, the speaker asked specifically, are you able to put a lien on my house because I don't pay my water bill? The answer is no. You asked if we were able to place a lien on your house if you don't pay your water bill.
Correct.
The answer is no.
What's he saying?
We're talking about sewer.
Sewer bill.
So
Whatever bill I got here, if I don't make this payment, can you put a lien on my home?
I don't think.
So counsel, you can, but it's again, it'll go to the council again. So if someone has defaulted on their sewer bill, like a trash bill, for example, we will bring forward those periodically to the city council for you to vote on whether to put a lien on that property until we get payment from those.
But I thought it changed. Trash bills, yes, we can, but sewer bills are part of the property tax bill, and your property tax bill would become delinquent, not just the sewer portion of the property tax. Am I correct in thinking that?
I'm looking at my engineering, the public works staff. Mr. Sanchez, do you recall? Or Blake?
I don't think we can put a lien for the sewer bills. It's part of the tax bill, and the county manages delinquent tax bills.
Well, I'll have Public Works come up and explain that.
So in the previous system, like Graham was saying, we would send out sewer bills. If they didn't get paid, we would send out late notices with penalties. And then we would send out lien notices if they still didn't get paid. We would put a lien on the property up to 3 times a year. And then at the end of the fiscal year, we would take all of the liens and then apply them, just like we are now, to the property tax bill.
And to be clear, that was the system that's not in place today, but the way it used to be done.
So now, when we place them to the tax roll, if a person does not pay their property tax bill, then essentially, and you can only pay half of it or the full amount. You can't make partial payments to the property tax bill. So any part that is not paid would then, over time, if it didn't get paid continually, then there could be a default situation and they could try to foreclose on the property.
To be clear, that's a default situation,
Correct.
not a lien, and the county tax assessor or treasurer does a tax lien sale when you don't pay your taxes.
That's correct, Mr.
And the tax includes the sewer bill portion on that.
Yes. So the sewer is not paid independently or from the actual property tax.
To answer this
in total.
To answer the speaker's question, no, we cannot put a lien on your property for an unpaid sewer portion of the bill.
Can't.
The city of El Cajon cannot place a lien.
If I pay my tax bill but don't pay my sewer bill, because you're linking it together, you're making the tax bill. That to me is a way of getting more expediency for you. I mean, yeah, well, that's a bad way.
Well, the city manager explained that we actually incur lower administrative costs because we don't have to do billing 6 times a year under the old method.
I understand what that was, but when they tried, bill me once a year. Bill me once a year for the sewer bill.
That's through the property taxes.
No, a bill, not tied to my sewer bill, my tax bill. You bill me once a year and I pay you, but you tied it to my tax bill, and that's only benefiting you. It ain't benefiting me. It's giving me no protection. I'm not saying that I'm going to go broke, but that does not benefit the property owner at all.
Quick question.
Can I make myself clear when I'm asking?
No, I think your concern is that the water bill is tied to your property, right? That's the ultimate. But in the old system, if a person was delinquent in their water bill, we would put a lien on it, and if they still didn't pay, it would be tied to your property anyways.
Yeah, but they're tying it to, because they know I'm going to pay my property tax. So they tied it to the property tax to make it easier for them to collect.
Right, and so the totality of the situation from
So why did the council make a decision for the residents of El Cajon to do it this way? We didn't have any meeting on that.
Yeah, we did.
I remember when you said it, but there was no meeting on that for us.
Yeah,
right?
Council, you met on it several times. We actually sent multiple notices out, letters out, explanations out.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of public outreach that occurred through this.
It was we had a handful of meetings. I remember dozens of speakers speaking on it, and
right.
I voted to do it this way. And here's my justification for it. When we were looking at companies to actually service the billing, it was going to cost upwards of $1 million, I think, $1 million of taxpayer money to do the type of billing with a company. And so then our sewer bills, my sewer bills, everyone's sewer bills would go up dramatically to cover that $1 million cost, about $1 million cost. Or I think 11 out of the 10 cities in the county of San Diego are using this method. We were unique in no one was using outside billing companies to manage this process. And so we thought, okay, if someone is delinquent on their sewer bill and we place a lien on it for lack of payment, it's going to go on the county tax bill anyways. That's the result in the old system. So we said, instead of paying $1 million, we're just going to use the county tax roll, save that $1 million, keep our sewer rates lower than what we would have had to in the beginning, and still have the same result. That was one of the reasons is I didn't want to pay a company $1 million a year every year to bill our residents. Our sewer bills would have gone through the roof, and so I was trying to stem that process of our sewer bills going up when the result was the same. It was always going to be tied to our property taxes. But maybe 2 months ago, remind me, Mr. City Manager, we're exploring a program to assist residents, especially seniors, because this is a tough transition, having your sewer bill on your property tax bill. We want to develop a program here in the city where we use city funds. If a resident is having trouble with their sewer bill, we will have a program to actually cover the cost of that temporarily, so seniors or families aren't getting kicked out of their home. They're not losing their home. I think it was a couple months ago we were exploring that. It's similar to a state of California program. Correct.
And actually, Blake is the one that's working on the pilot program right now. So we'll be bringing something forward to you in the next couple of meetings.
Right. So that was my justification for it. I didn't want to see our sewer bills skyrocket. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the number of companies who are actually in the business of doing sewer bills for cities is very little. There's very little now of those companies that exist because they're all just going on the county tax roll. So finding a vendor to do that was very difficult as well. And that's why it costs so much, because there's not many around. So anyways, all I have to say, it's not a great situation. I don't like it, but it was the best of the bad scenarios that we chose. There's no good options, and so this was the best of.
This was the best of the bad options.
Exactly, yeah. So I don't like it either, but that's the reasoning that I could give you right now. Yeah.
It's just to save money. Okay, all right. That's much better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last speaker is Timothy Swing.
Hello, sir.
It's Timothy Swing. I live on Trenton Street in El Cajon. I know what your problems are in your sewer bill, but there's a part of your sewer bill that goes to Public Works for cleaning the sewer lines. Correct?
Mr. Mitchell?
So when we calculate the cost to charge the resident, there's a cost from City of San Diego to treat the sewage. There's also a cost for capital replacement. So Public Works will go out and hire contractors to replace pipe that needs to be replaced. And there's also what's called operation cost. So we have Public Works crews that do sanitation work. So they clean lines, They monitor the lines. They camera lines.
Okay, so to answer your question, yes.
So your second part of your bill is what goes to your public works, correct? Right?
Correct.
Okay. This is my problem. I have seen a sewer cleaning truck on main thoroughfares such as Madison, Granite Hills Drive, any other street that's a main thoroughfare, but not on the residential streets. We haven't had the sewer line that runs down our streets cleaned in at least 4 years. Guess what's coming up out of your manholes and coming up our sewer lines into our bathrooms? Because the drain in your bathtub and your shower is the lowest point in your house. Cockroaches. Don't use your shower for 1 week and watch what happens. You go away for a week, you come back, you got cockroaches in your shower or your bathtub. Where do they come from? Your sewer line in the street. What's the matter with your public works people? They have no work ethic. The clock starts when they show up at work. They get around to taking the truck out. They might actually work 5.5 hours a day, but they get paid for a whole day. You have a problem. I know what these problems are because I solved those kind of problems when I was in the military. That's why I was an aide to 2 hospital commanders and to 2 generals as an enlisted man, because I got at the root of the problem, the work ethic of the people. They were not doing their job. They were collecting a paycheck. I'd like to see every council member and every member from City Hall out there with the trucks. Roll up your sleeves, put on your gloves, and start working for the people of the city of El Cajon. I know what the cost is for the wastegate meter down there by Gillespie Field, where you send the sewer to Point Loma to be treated. I know the whole system. I've been before this chamber so many times. You got a new city manager because one of your former city managers went to the federal pokey because of me. I suggest you get in and start working and get this mess cleaned up. I'm tired of finding cockroaches in my bathroom.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Sir, I'm going to have a different opinion than you. I disagree that our public works employees don't have a good work ethic. They do. They do a tremendous job of keeping our city clean, of keeping the pipes that are under our streets from breaking. They do a really good job. So we're going to have a different opinion, but I'm going to stand up for them because they do a great job.
Thank you. Angela, do we have any more speakers?
No more speaker cards.
Thank you. May we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Is there any further discussion, or would someone like to proceed with the motions?
I'll make a motion to adopt the next resolution order. Do you need, I guess I'll just say to reference the staff protest, or I'm sorry, the staff recommendation. Mr. Mitchell, you have something?
Correct. And there, remember, there's sort of
There's two options.
Yes.
I'm getting to that.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to motion that we adopt the next resolution that affirms the staff recommendation and that we choose option B, which includes the 1% reduction.
I'll second that motion.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Okay, we have two administrative reports on today's agenda. Item 12 is regarding a Caltrans restricted grant agreement. I'll ask staff to please introduce the item.
Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor, members of council. Let me get started here. Try it again. There we go. There we go. It's taking a minute. There we go. Connect. 1776. I think I got it now. Okay. Cool. Thank you. All right. Let me open my presentation here. All right, so this item is an agreement with the state of California. It's called the Clean California Grant. And the title is Oakdale Alameda Beautification Project. There's a lot of confusion with the title. Alameda, people think it's Oakland Alameda. So Alameda means it's a walkway with a canopy of trees, and it's a Spanish interpretation. So this is a grant. It's Caltrans administers this grant, and it's through the Clean California program. The background of this project, one of the 6 council goals was street beautification that was established by City Council back in 2021. And one of the goals is street beautification of all the city's entry points. With that, we pushed out different community surveys on social media and asked the public, what's most important to them in terms of beautification in the city. And probably the overwhelming response was, more street trees. It's hot down here in the valley, and improve cleaning up waste, trash, and so forth. So once we did our outreach, coincidentally, Caltrans pushed out a call for projects in late 2021, and it's a state grant. And we were awarded, we applied, and we just got word in March that we were awarded $5 million for this grant. And it was a really competitive process, and we were fortunate. There was over 400 applications submitted, and we were one of the lucky few that got projects here in Southern California. So we're one of the 105 projects. And the Clean California Grant project goals is just 4 overarching goals. One is to reduce the amount of trash and waste and debris throughout California, and especially the state highways, which trickles down to local streets and roads where just abundance of trash and debris and furniture and whatnot. And with that, the second goal is to just beautify and improve public spaces throughout local agencies and improve walking and places to have recreation. And with this grant, it's called Advance Equity for Underserved Communities. I wanted to push out dollars towards underserved communities, and we were fortunate to get this project. All right, zooming into the project area. We submitted 3 applications, and we were successful with only one, which is probably our busiest corridor. And if I use my pointer here, Oakdale and the Alleyway and Walter Way were the streets that were selected for our project area. And we go to the next slide. The next couple of slides I'm going to show you just existing conditions of which submitted, and this is just a view of Oakdale looking east. If you know, Oakdale ends up as a cul-de-sac off the freeway off 2nd Street. And a view of the 2nd Street and Oakdale intersection. It's one of our busiest intersections in the city. There's over 40,000 vehicles that pass through 2nd Street off of I-8, so it's a high volume location. And this is the alleyway, just to the east of 2nd Street. And if you see, it's just a concrete alleyway, not much to talk about, no street lights or anything like that. And another photo of the alleyway about mid-block down the alley. And our last street that we were successful with is Walter Way, looking south from between Madison. And if you see, there's no sidewalks, no street lights, or it's not very attractive to the public, and you see trash there as well. So the next couple of slides is our concept plans that we submitted to the state, and I just want to preface this. It's just a concept, and what we're looking at is to widen the sidewalks on Oakdale and add about 50 more street trees. And other highlights include drought-tolerant landscaping, stormwater features to capture polluted water as it flows through the system, and improved lighting and public art display. It's probably about in this corner right there. And this is all going to be vetted out with public outreach. So we're kicking around the catenary lights, but I'm not sure if they're going to work or not. But if not, we'll come with the solution. And this is the alleyway, just kind of putting in porous pavers to capture storm water, and some type of decorative treatment on the fringes of the alleyway, and with improved lighting. And Walter Way, as I showed the last slide, pop out the sidewalk, move the sidewalks out, put in drought-tolerant landscaping and decorative street lights, and places where we can place trash receptacles and so forth to beautify the location. So this is the scope of work and schedule. It's a really ambitious schedule that the state imposed on cities. We have to hire an engineering consultant hopefully by the end of this December. And within the project, there'll be much public outreach and a cleanup event and so forth. And then construction's got to be completed by June 30th, 2024. So very ambitious schedule. And my last slide, I'm just going to talk about the project budget. That's a $5 million grant to the Clean California. It's administered by Caltrans. And then we're going to match. We're required to match. We identified 1.793 of match for the project, which is a 12.5% match as required. So our total budget is $6.793 million. And with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Thank you. Council, any questions? I will have to say, if you see the three of us up here nodding our head, going like this, all three of us have been involved with community cleanup efforts. I know Steve has gone out quite frequently, and Phil and I have also. And those areas are some of the areas that we go to on a frequent basis, and we get calls on a frequent basis. And up until the pandemic, we would go out there almost weekly to go out and clean. So it's really great to see that there's, a project that's going to be hopefully cleaning it up, and residents can take a little more pride in that area. So thank you for that. I just have a question.
Sure.
How many... are there any other cities in San Diego County that won this award or won a grant?
I'm not really aware. There might be another city in San Diego County, but most of them were, the Bay Area and LA region, but I can find out.
No, I'm just curious. It sounds like we're a little more forward-thinking in El Cajon, and I appreciate those who do seek out the grants and, put together the plans so that we can get this money and not have to use taxpayer funds to do it, so that it is taxpayer funds, but it's on a much larger scale where it's more pennies per person versus dollars per person. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes, go ahead.
This is a project of the Public Works Department?
Yes.
Okay, just...
Oh, yeah, I forgot to introduce myself. Mario Sanchez, Deputy Director, City Engineer, Public Works.
Public Works. Great. Great work.
Thank you.
Real quick, with regard to funding, this 12.5% of ARPA funding, that's ARPA funding that we receive. It's not additional.
No, it's what we received allocated out of the $5 million that we have allocated.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so in order to be approved for the grant, we had, as a city, to be able to have that funding available to apply to this type of project. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great project. Thank you.
And council members, this leaves a little less than $4 million for other city beautification projects with that ARPA money. So we're not using all the ARPA money on this, but this is a big chunk of it.
Thank you. Angela, do we have any comments for this item?
No speaker cards for the item.
Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion? Would someone like to proceed with the motion?
I'll make a motion to thank the Public Works for securing a $5 million grant and to adopt the next resolution order approving and authorizing the execution of the agreement.
I'll second that.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Thank you. The last administrative report, item 13, is regarding the Nurse Navigator pilot program. I'll ask staff to please introduce the item. Hello, Chief.
Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor, council members. Steve Swaney, Fire Chief, also Paul Forney from AMR here. He's the operations manager for AMR. As you may recall, we came before council in March, and council allocated $300,000 for a Nurse Navigator pilot program. And just kind of a quick recap of what that program is it's a nurse triage line that when calls come into the 911 center, the dispatchers there that are trained specifically to triage calls and to designate high acuity versus low acuity, they'll take those low acuity calls and based off a protocol, ship those to a nurse triage line. That nurse then can take and find the appropriate level of care for that person, whether it be urgent care, whether it be making a doctor's appointment, or maybe just providing some telehealth, providing a ride for somebody via Lyft or a Uber-type platform to the hospital. So instead of having to send a response with a fire engine and ambulance and transport someone from their hospital to the emergency room, then they're cared for, potentially maybe enrolled in some benefits, some health care, and they get some continuity of care and some long-term health care with the system. So since we came to you in March, we've been working diligently with our partners. That includes the County of San Diego, AMR, Access to Care. We've developed a relationship with Grossmont Healthcare District to help us with some of the public education and getting some of the clinics online. And so with all that work that we've done, we went back to the county, and the Office of Emergency Services has approved as of June 24th for the city to go forward with this program. So with that, we're here to ask you to basically adopt the resolution order authorizing the city manager or designee to appropriate the previously allocated $300,000 and authorize them to execute any agreements necessary for the program. Once those are done, then we can initiate the implementation phase, which is about 90 days. It includes public education, it includes training for the dispatchers, and also includes those relationships and those MOUs with the area clinics between access to care and basically those clinics so that they can ship patients to it. So with that, I'll have any questions. I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Mr. Goebel?
To set expectations, the nurse triage system doesn't necessarily say nobody's coming. It may say we're going to take you to a clinic instead of the ER.
That's correct. No one has refused any type of care or treatment. It's just the treatment is directed to the appropriate place. And it's a voluntary, if someone does not want to participate in it, they have the option of refusing to participate in it. But we anticipate about 20% of the calls that we run now are going to fall into this category. So we're running somewhere, we'll be well north of 16,000 calls this year. So we're anticipating about 3,500 or better, depending on how many calls actually get triaged, that'll go through this system.
And the result is less wear and tear on AMR, on fire engines, on fire personnel.
Yeah, and actually the best result is for our citizens, because now they get the appropriate care. They don't end up in the ER with a referral that they can't go someplace to see. They get a doctor that they get assigned to. They get that follow-up care. And so it's actually more of a benefit to them than it is the city as far as our resources. So it really helps our citizens out quite a bit.
Do you know if any of those clinics will be working with community partners such as senior programs or PACE programs or social services in a way that might be more productive than an ER visit?
Absolutely. That's part of that outreach during that 90 days. And when these people call and they get referred to the nurse triage line, that's part of it, is trying to get some wraparound services for them so they can get them enrolled in some health care benefits, get them the resources that they need. And that during that first 90 days, that's where that relationship comes in with working with San Ysidro Healthcare and PACE and all these different clinics that are throughout town to have places where our residents can go on a regular basis instead of not being able to get an appointment, not being able to get in to see anybody, and they can get into a doctor's appointment because they'll allocate some slots for us and get them the care that they need instead of ending up at the ER.
And not waiting 5 hours in an ER, getting bumped down.
Yeah, and not waiting up there, getting frustrated, not getting the care that they need, and also taking up space so the ambulances don't get backed up at the hospital as well. So.
I think it's a smart program. Great idea.
No, thank you.
Yeah, no questions, but I just want to applaud this program and all parties involved, fire, HR, city manager's office, city at large. We've come up with very creative programs to help. I think your term, Chief, was the appropriate dispatch the appropriate level of resources based off of the call. Instead of having a fire truck and this is more for the public. Instead of having a fire truck and an ambulance respond to a call that's not life-threatening, we can triage it through this nurse, and they can dig a little bit deeper as to what are the symptoms, what's going on. The other creative approach that we had was what is a pickup truck that we have now?
Squad.
What is it?
The squad.
The squad trucks. So instead of rolling out an ambulance and a fire truck, we have these pickup trucks that are squad trucks with paramedics, EMTs, that can go out quickly for less severe calls as well. So instead of spending money and huge amounts of resources on a brand new fire truck and a brand new ambulance and staffing with AMR and spending a ton of money, we're saying, hold on, let's wait a minute, let's get some creative options on the table so we can not only increase level of care but appropriate level of care so we're not wasting resources and, as Councilmember Goebel said, burning out our fire department and our EMTs and our paramedics because they're on the call. They're on calls all day, call after call, call after call. So great program. I'm going to be voting yes on this.
Thank you.
Goebel?
You know, it's a Class 1 agency that's running this test. I think sometimes people don't realize there are about more than 34,000 fire agencies in the United States. And to be a Class 1 ISO, you have to be in the top 1%. So that means Heartland's, our El Cajon firefighters, are among 340 out of 34,000 to do this kind of thing. So if anybody can pull this off, you can.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I have some questions. Just for clarification. So this $300,000, that's going to go for how many nurse navigators?
So it's a call center that basically Access to Care has nurses already sitting there in that. So it's basically taking our calls and putting them embedding them into an existing nurse triage line. It's in Texas, but they'll use all of our local protocols under our local physicians' guidance and stuff. So we're not adding any nurses to anything. We're just basically subscribing to this program. So what this $300,000 will give us will be the initial 90-day implementation, the CAD-to-CAD connection between our dispatch center and their dispatch center. And then what it does is it pays for those amount of calls, including that transport option with either Lyft or Uber or some other medium to take the person there.
So it's the call center is used by multiple agencies.
Yeah, it's right now Washington D.C. uses it. There's a couple other agencies that use it. We will be the first agency in California to use this call center.
Excellent. 24/7.
24/7.
Okay. And I just want to say that I think this is an awesome idea. As a former EMT, I know what it's like to work a 48-hour shift, and you spend 75% of that time doing asthma calls. They don't have a ride to the hospital, and not to denigrate that person for not having transportation, but you take a unit out of service to take a person to an emergency room for something that could have been taken care of in a clinic. And so I think this is an excellent benefit to the citizens, because you're going to get better care and leaves our paramedics and our EMTs to do a higher level of care versus these low-level calls constantly going, because they will burn you out. And when you're having to drive by Braille, and everybody knows what I'm talking about, in the middle of the night calls. So thank you so much for that. And I think I don't have any other questions. Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see. Angela, did you receive any comments for this item?
We have no comments for the item.
Thank you. All right. We don't need a motion. Is there any further discussion, or would someone like to proceed with a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to adopt that next resolution in order authorizing the city manager to appropriate the previous allocated $300,000 of general fund carryover reserves to execute any necessary agreements.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Thank you. All right. There are no commission reports on today's agenda. We are now at activity reports of Mayor Wells and comments, and I believe item 14 is Mayor Wells' statement and is as submitted. Councilmember Goebel.
As reported.
Okay. I believe that Mr. Kendrick is not here. Is it as reported? All right. Mr. Ortiz?
It is not as reported. I was not able to make the Shadow Mountain Celebrate America event.
Okay. And I believe that mine is as reported. I believe that I do need to add that I helped out at the Amicus Tiny Village build. And I just want to say and make the public aware that Councilmember Goebel does a lot of work for our community. He is out there every time they have a build when they're building the tiny village at Meridian Baptist Church. And he works very hard, and he does work for his community, and he's out there wielding that hammer, getting sunburned, and working way over time. So I thank you, Mr. Goebel, for doing that. It's much appreciated, and I'm sure that the women and families who finally end up in those tiny homes are going to appreciate your work as well. Thank you. All right, moving on. There are no joint council member reports and no general information items on today's agenda. There are no first readings of ordinances on today's agenda. And item 19 is the reading and adoption of the ordinance to adjust the salaries of council members and mayor, and we are pulling that.
That's correct. So that's pulled, and we'll schedule that for the next council meeting.
I apologize. Newbie mistake. And let's see. So we're down to closed sessions. We have no closed sessions today?
No, there are no closed sessions.
We're done? All right, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to adjournment. The regular joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council, El Cajon Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency, held this 12th day of July 2022, is adjourned to Tuesday, July 26, 2022 at 3 p.m. Thank you.